When we first looked at the results, it was astonishing. We've had to rethink the history of technology.
For over a century, fragments of a strange bronze device pulled from a sunken ship off a small Greek island have puzzled scientists and historians alike. But now, thanks to artificial intelligence, the missing half of this ancient machine has finally been rebuilt, and what it reveals has left researchers amazed, emotional, and questioning everything we thought we knew about history. Join us as we uncover how AI brought the Antikythera Mechanism back to life and why its unbelievable calculations are changing our understanding of the ancient world forever. The discovery beneath the waves. It all began more than 100 years ago, deep in the calm blue waters off a small Greek island called Antikythera. A group of sponge divers had set out to search for sea sponges, but instead, they stumbled upon something no one could have imagined. As they dove into the depths, one of them spotted pieces of what looked like a shipwreck. Curious, they decided to take a closer look. What they discovered on the seabed was a treasure trove of ancient objects, beautiful statues, pottery, and strange metal fragments coated with thick layers of coral and rust. At first, no one paid much attention to the odd gear-like pieces mixed among the relics. They were just chunks of bronze, green with age, fragile and forgotten. But those tiny fragments would one day rewrite everything we thought we knew about ancient technology. When the artifacts were brought to the surface in 1900, archaeologists were thrilled by the discovery of the shipwreck. They believed it had sunk over 2,000 years ago, sometime around 60 to 70 BCE. As experts carefully cleaned and examined each item, they realized that the corroded bronze fragments belonged to something mechanical, something that should not have existed in that period. It wasn't a statue or a weapon, it was a machine, with gears and inscriptions, built with the precision of a modern clock. Scientists were stunned. How could such complex engineering exist in a world where people still used sundials to tell time? For years, the device sat in museums, puzzling researchers who couldn't agree on what it was or what it did. It had more than 30 bronze gears fitted perfectly together, and the craftsmanship was far beyond anything else known from ancient Greece. Slowly, experts began to suspect that this mysterious mechanism might have been used to track movements of the sun, moon, and stars, a kind of ancient computer built to predict celestial events. The thought of it was unbelievable. How could people 2 millennia ago design a machine capable of such calculations when even medieval Europe wouldn't create similar mechanisms for over 1,000 years? The fragments revealed delicate craftsmanship and markings that hinted at astronomical functions. With only about a third of the machine remaining, researchers were left guessing. The inscriptions on the surface were mostly unreadable, and the missing gears made it impossible to know how it truly worked. The deeper they studied it, the more it seemed like something was missing an entire section that could reveal the full story behind this forgotten invention. It was as if the key part of a puzzle had vanished into the sea forever. Over time, technology improved, and new imaging tools allowed scientists to look inside the corroded metal without touching it. Using X-rays and 3D scans, they could finally see how the gears connected. Each discovery brought them closer to understanding the ancient mind that created this masterpiece. Yet one mystery remained unsolved. What did it do? What could it have calculated? Some believed it was lost forever, while others thought it might hide answers about how much the ancient Greeks really knew about the universe. That mystery continued to haunt researchers until artificial intelligence entered the picture. What humans had tried to decode for over a century, AI promised to rebuild. By analyzing the patterns, mathematical ratios, and ancient writings left on the fragments, AI began to imagine what the missing parts might have looked like and what their purpose could have been. What came next would shake historians and scientists alike, revealing that the ancient world might have been far more advanced than we ever dared to believe. And this is where the story turns from a simple shipwreck discovery to a technological miracle reborn through modern intelligence. It's the moment when history meets code and the past begins to whisper its secrets again. A machine ahead of its time. As the years went by, the mystery of the strange bronze device deepened. Scientists from all over the world tried to piece together its story, each one hoping to uncover what the fragments were once part of. Slowly, it became clear that this was not just another relic from ancient Greece. It was something extraordinary, a device so advanced that it didn't seem to belong in its own era. Every tiny gear, every carefully cut groove spoke of a mind far ahead of its time. Researchers began to realize that this was, in fact, an ancient mechanical calculator, a complex system of gears and wheels capable of predicting the movements of celestial bodies. The more they studied it, the more impossible it seemed. 2,000 years ago, people didn't have machines with precision engineering, and yet there was evidence that someone had already mastered it. This device, which would later be called the Antikythera Mechanism, became known as the world's first analog computer. It wasn't a simple gadget. The machine was designed with astonishing accuracy, able to track the cycles of the moon, predict eclipses, and even mark the positions of the planets. It had multiple dials and pointers that showed how the heavens moved across time. In essence, it was a miniature model of the universe built long before telescopes or scientific instruments ever existed. Experts were amazed. How could the ancient Greeks, with basic tools and no modern machinery, create something that mirrored the precision of 18th century clockwork? To many, it felt like the device had appeared from another world. The craftsmanship was far beyond the level of known Greek engineering, and the mathematics behind it were breathtaking. The gear ratios reflected deep understanding of astronomical cycles, suggesting that whoever made it possessed knowledge far beyond their age. Historians began to connect it to the teachings of great minds like Archimedes and Hipparchus, geniuses of the ancient world, who might have inspired or designed such mechanisms. But even then, nothing else like it had ever been found, not even centuries later. As experts reconstructed more of the mechanism through X-ray scans, they discovered that the inscriptions engraved on its surface acted like a user's guide. They described celestial motions, dates, and cycles, as if the machine were once used to teach or demonstrate how the cosmos worked. This discovery changed how we viewed ancient civilization. These were not people blindly gazing at the stars. They were scientists, engineers, and thinkers who had already mapped the rhythms of the universe. The idea that such advanced technology could exist in 100 BCE was difficult for many to accept. For decades, skeptics argued that the mechanism must have been a one-of-a-kind invention that disappeared with its creator. Others believed it was proof of a lost era of scientific brilliance that history had forgotten. Either way, the Antikythera mechanism stood as silent evidence that human intelligence had always reached further than we ever imagined. Yet despite all these findings, one puzzle still remained the missing half. The parts that were lost to the sea might hold even more complex systems, possibly revealing new secrets about how the machine worked, or what it was truly designed to calculate. No one knew for sure what those hidden gears might show if they were ever found or rebuilt. And then came a breakthrough that would change everything. When artificial intelligence took over the challenge, it wasn't just about studying what remained. It was about rebuilding what was lost. This is where the story turns once again, as the ancient brilliance of human hands meets the limitless precision of modern AI, ready to reveal what the ancients had been trying to tell us all along. The missing half that changed everything. For decades, scientists had studied the surviving pieces of the Antikythera mechanism, yet the biggest mystery remained unsolved. What did the missing half look like, and what was its purpose? The fragments that had been recovered from the seafloor were only a fraction of the original device. Most of its gears, plates, and dials were either broken beyond recognition or lost forever. Without those pieces, it was like trying to complete a jigsaw puzzle with half of the image gone. Everyone could see hints of its brilliance, but the full picture remained out of reach. Those who examined the mechanism up close described it as a mechanical wonder, a network of over 30 tiny gears, each tooth carved by hand with perfect precision. The ancient Greeks had used bronze, a metal that easily corrodes in seawater, so centuries underwater had eaten away much of the device's beauty. But even in its damaged state, it was clear that it wasn't an ordinary artifact. It carried markings, scales, and inscriptions that hinted at deep astronomical knowledge. It could track the lunar cycle, predict eclipses, and align with celestial events with incredible accuracy. Still, there were clear gaps. The back section seemed incomplete. Some pointers were missing, and several gears didn't connect to anything. It was obvious that half of the device had vanished, and that half might have held the answers to everything. The missing portion wasn't just a physical loss. It was a hole in history itself. Without it, experts couldn't know the machine's full function. Some believed it was designed only to follow the moon's motion, while others thought it mapped all known planets. A few even suggested it had a deeper meaning, perhaps a sacred link between science and the divine, a tool used by priests to interpret celestial messages. No theory could be confirmed without seeing the whole machine, but for over 100 years, those missing parts refused to reveal themselves. Each decade brought new technology that allowed researchers to study the fragments in better detail. X-ray tomography opened new worlds hidden beneath the corrosion. Suddenly, scientists could see the hidden gears and read faint Greek letters engraved on the metal. These inscriptions weren't random symbols, they were carefully written instructions. They spoke of cycles, time, and the dance of the heavens. From this, researchers started to piece together that the mechanism was something like a mechanical calendar of the universe. But the question still burned. What was in the missing half that made it so unique? Then came one of the most emotional discoveries, the realization that the Antikythera mechanism was far more advanced than anyone dared to believe. The level of precision found in its gears didn't appear again until over 1,000 years later in medieval clockwork. It was as if someone from the future had traveled back in time and handed this knowledge to the ancient Greeks. Yet that idea didn't fit the story historians had built about human progress. It challenged everything we thought we knew about where and when technology began. Some experts began to suspect that the lost half might contain more planetary gear systems, possibly used to predict the movement of Mars, Venus, and Saturn. Others thought it might have included a dial that showed solar and lunar eclipses, or even an astrological calendar that aligned human life with cosmic events. The more scientists theorized, the more fascinating it became. The Antikythera mechanism wasn't just an ancient tool. It was a window into the minds of people who saw the universe as a system of harmony and precision. But one heartbreaking truth remained. As long as the missing half stayed lost, the machine's ultimate purpose would remain a mystery. Many expeditions returned to the site of the shipwreck, hoping to find new fragments. Divers explored the seabed again and again, discovering other artifacts from the ship's statues, coins, and pottery, but no more gears. The sea had swallowed the rest of the mechanism, leaving behind only questions and wonder. By the early 2000s, researchers had mapped out nearly every surviving detail. They built physical replicas using modern tools, trying to recreate the missing parts based on the mathematical logic found in the remaining gears. Some of these models worked beautifully, turning in perfect cycles, predicting lunar phases, and aligning with known eclipses from history. But each reconstruction was slightly different because no one truly knew what the lost half looked like. It was brilliant guesswork, but still incomplete. Then something unexpected began to happen. As technology evolved, artificial intelligence entered the conversation. For years, human eyes and human reasoning had tried to decode the mechanism's secrets, but the patterns were too complex. There were calculations too subtle for the mind to fully grasp. Hidden ratios buried inside the gears that only a machine could detect. AI offered something new, a way to process massive amounts of data and recognize patterns invisible to the human brain. It could read the worn inscriptions, calculate the spacing of the teeth on each gear, and use those numbers to predict what was missing. Soon, ancient texts, mathematical ratios, and astronomical records from the Greek era were fed into advanced AI models. These systems began generating digital blueprints, predictions of how the missing half might have been designed. What researchers saw shocked them. The computer-generated model wasn't random. It fit perfectly with what was already known about Greek astronomy. The AI had reconstructed not just gears but functions and entire mechanisms that could predict solar and lunar eclipses, the positions of planets, and even the phases of the moon with breathtaking accuracy. It was as though the past had come back to life through code. The missing half, once lost to time and tide, had been virtually rebuilt. For the first time, scientists could see the complete Antikythera mechanism as it might have looked over 2,000 years ago. It was no longer just fragments of bronze. It was a living system of knowledge, a reminder that the ancients understood the cosmos in ways modern people are only beginning to appreciate. What AI uncovered was more than just the mechanical genius of ancient engineers. It revealed a mindset that combined art, science, and philosophy into a single creation. The Antikythera mechanism wasn't built for power or wealth, it was built for understanding. It showed that the human desire to decode the universe has always been a part of who we are. But this was only the beginning, because as soon as AI completed the missing half and scientists started to test its functions, they discovered something completely unexpected, something that would change how we see both the ancient world and our own future. And that's where the story turns again, as we move from discovery to revelation. What happens when modern technology finishes what ancient genius began? The answer lies in the next part, when AI finally rebuilds the impossible. When AI rebuilt the impossible. When artificial intelligence finally took the lead in recreating the lost half of the Antikythera mechanism, it felt like history itself was waking up from a long sleep. For more than a century, experts had argued, guessed, and built models, but none could say for certain how the ancient device truly worked. Then AI stepped in, and for the first time, humanity could witness what the complete version might have looked like, and even more shockingly, what it could actually calculate. Researchers began by feeding enormous amounts of data into AI programs. Ancient Greek texts, astronomical cycles, measurements of surviving gears, and even X-ray images that showed faint scratches and hidden inscriptions under the corrosion. The AI analyzed everything, connecting details that humans had missed. It began predicting patterns, drawing lines between numbers, and building mathematical relationships that made perfect sense when seen through the logic of ancient astronomy. What it created wasn't just a digital replica, it was a living simulation of the original mechanism. Piece by piece, the AI reconstructed the missing gears, predicting their exact size, number of teeth, and placement. Each one fit perfectly into the surviving structure, turning smoothly in perfect harmony. It was like watching the mind of an ancient engineer come back to life through modern technology. Scientists stood in awe as the model worked flawlessly, proving that the ancients had achieved precision thought impossible for their time. The gears rotated in complex sequences that matched celestial events, eclipses, lunar phases, planetary positions. Everything moved in unison, just as it would in the night sky. But then came the real shock. The AI's complete version of the Antikythera mechanism did more than anyone had expected. When researchers ran simulations, they found that the machine could predict planetary alignments centuries into the future. It wasn't limited to the Sun and Moon. It also mapped the cycles of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The device even seemed capable of showing retrograde motion, the optical illusion that makes planets appear to move backward in the sky. This was knowledge that astronomers in Europe wouldn't master until the Renaissance, nearly 1,500 years later. To think that ancient Greek engineers had designed a machine capable of such accuracy was almost unbelievable. Yet the gears told the story themselves. The mathematics, the ratios, and the engravings all aligned perfectly. The AI hadn't created something new. It had only filled in what time had erased. What amazed scientists most was how deeply mathematical the mechanism was. It used a series of ratios connected to lunar and solar cycles, even accounting for slight variations in the moon's orbit. This level of detail showed not only technical skill, but also a deep understanding of how the universe moved, something that could only come from generations of careful observation. The more researchers tested it, the more secrets the reconstructed device revealed. It displayed calendars that synchronized with ancient festivals and tracked important celestial events used by the Greeks for navigation and agriculture. Some experts began to suspect that it was not only a scientific instrument, but also a spiritual one. To the Greeks, the cosmos wasn't just a system of moving bodies, it was alive, divine, and full of meaning. This mechanism could have been their way of bringing that divine order into human hands as a bridge between the heavens and the earth. What made this discovery even more moving was how perfectly ancient wisdom and modern technology blended to complete it. The AI didn't replace human understanding, it amplified it. It gave life to the imagination of the ancient world, revealing that their knowledge was far from primitive. These were people who looked up at the stars not just with wonder, but with mathematics, logic, and an unshakable belief that everything in the universe could be understood through reason and precision. When the full digital model was displayed, it looked breathtaking, as a series of bronze wheels turning in harmony, each representing a part of the cosmic dance. The pointers moved across circular dials that predicted eclipses, solar phases, and celestial alignments exactly as they happened in the sky. What was once corroded, broken, and silent was now alive again, ticking with purpose. Scientists who witnessed the AI reconstruction said it felt like standing in two worlds at once, the ancient and the modern joined together by curiosity and innovation. It was proof that knowledge never truly dies. It just waits to be rediscovered. But what came next was even more astonishing. As the AI-generated model continued to calculate, researchers realized that it held a secret deeper than predictions or planetary motion. There was something unusual in its design, something that suggested the Antikythera Mechanism might have been created for reasons far beyond science alone. That discovery would take the story into its most mysterious chapter, yet the one where logic meets belief, and where the stars themselves might hide a forgotten message. And that's where we go next, into what the completed model truly revealed and why its calculations left everyone speechless. The shocking discovery inside the rebuilt model. When the Antikythera mechanism was finally reconstructed through the power of AI, everyone expected it to reveal more about ancient astronomy, but no one was prepared for what it actually calculated. As the new digital model came to life, spinning its intricate gears and moving its dials in perfect rhythm, researchers quickly realized that this wasn't just a calendar or a stargazer's toy. It was something far more complex, a machine that seemed to hold the heartbeat of the heavens within its bronze wheels. At first, the scientists focused on its known functions. It predicted eclipses with remarkable accuracy, showing exactly when and where the sun or moon would darken across the sky. But as the simulation continued, new layers of meaning began to appear. The mechanism didn't just show time, it measured cosmic harmony. It could trace the cycles of all the known planets, predicting when they would align, cross, or reverse direction. Its gears moved with mathematical perfection, mirroring the movement of the universe as if it had been designed to capture the order of creation itself. The more they studied it, the more astonishing details emerged. The inscriptions hidden on its bronze plates weren't random markings. They were coded messages, describing celestial patterns with an understanding that rivaled modern physics. Some of the cycles matched calculations only rediscovered by scientists in the last few centuries. It was as if the mind behind the Antikythera mechanism had already solved equations that the rest of the world wouldn't understand for nearly 2,000 years. Then came a discovery that stunned even the most skeptical researchers. When they compared the device's calendar system with historical records, the AI found something extraordinary. The machine's cycle matched the exact rhythm of major celestial alignments that the Greeks connected to sacred festivals and prophecies. This wasn't just science, it was spirituality, expressed through gears and ratios. The ancients might have used this device to decide the best times for rituals, voyages, or even wars, believing it revealed the will of the gods written in the stars. To modern scientists, it was breathtaking to see how knowledge and belief merged so seamlessly in one creation. The Antikythera mechanism didn't separate science from mystery, it unified them. It was a perfect blend of logic, philosophy, and devotion, showing how deeply the ancients respected the universe's design. But there was one final twist that made the discovery even more unsettling. When researchers ran extended simulations, the AI-generated model began to predict events far beyond the limits of ancient observation, eclipses, alignments, and cosmic shifts that matched real occurrences thousands of years later. While this was likely a coincidence, it left many wondering if the creator had designed it to be more than a tool. Perhaps it was meant as a message, a reminder that the cosmos moves with purpose, and that the same patterns that guided the ancients still govern us today. What the AI rebuilt wasn't just a missing machine, it was a bridge between past and future proof that human curiosity has always reached for the stars. Yet, as incredible as the discovery was, it also raised a haunting question. Why did this knowledge vanish for centuries? What happened to the civilization that built it? Those questions lead to the next part of this mystery, where the machine's story becomes a warning, echoing from the depths of time. A warning from the ancient world. The Antikythera mechanism's reconstruction didn't just rewrite history, It left behind a message that felt strangely personal, almost as if it were whispering across the centuries. When AI finally completed what the ancient engineers began, it wasn't only the brilliance of the device that stunned the world, but what it seemed to say about us. The people who created this masterpiece lived over 2,000 years ago. They had no electricity, no telescopes, and no modern machinery, yet they achieved a level of precision that modern scientists still struggle to explain. And then, as if the world blinked, that knowledge disappeared. For centuries after the mechanism sank beneath the sea, there was no trace of similar technology. The idea of gears predicting the cosmos, of a hand-built computer mapping the universe, vanished from human memory. It was as though someone had pressed reset on civilization. This realization shook researchers deeply. How could a society capable of such genius simply forget it all? The answer, historians believe, lies in the rise and fall of empires, wars, and the loss of libraries that once preserved knowledge. The fire that destroyed the Library of Alexandria, for example, might have erased countless inventions and manuscripts that explain devices like the Antikythera Mechanism. When knowledge isn't shared or protected, it dies, no matter how advanced it is. The mechanism became a symbol of that loss, a small but powerful warning from the past about what happens when curiosity fades or when progress is silenced. As the AI-generated model continued to be studied, another truth began to emerge. The Antikythera Mechanism wasn't just proof of ancient intelligence, it was proof of how connected humanity has always been to the universe. The Greeks didn't build it for wealth or power, they built it to understand. They believed that by studying the heavens, they could align their lives with the rhythm of the cosmos. In a way, the machine represented harmony, the balance between logic and wonder, between invention and meaning. Modern scientists and engineers, while amazed by its precision, couldn't help but feel a touch of sadness. Humanity had once held this knowledge, and then it was gone for nearly 2 millennia. It made them question how much more had been lost and how many other brilliant inventions might still be buried beneath the ocean floor, forgotten and waiting to be rediscovered. The Antikythera Mechanism reminded the world that technology is not just progress, it is memory. It's what connects generations, what carries the flame of discovery from one era to the next. And when that flame goes out, it takes part of our humanity with it. The use of AI to rebuild the mechanism also carried its own warning. The same tool that resurrected the past now shapes our future. Just as the ancients used gears to mirror the movement of the heavens, modern humans use algorithms to model the world around us. Both forms of intelligence, mechanical and artificial, come with great responsibility. The question is, will we protect and share our knowledge better than those who came before us, or will history repeat itself? In the end, the Antikythera Mechanism stands as a bridge between ages, a bronze heartbeat from a forgotten world, now revived by digital minds. It tells us that brilliance has always lived within humanity, but so has the danger of losing it. What AI uncovered was not only a marvel of engineering, but a message carved in time, that the greatest discoveries are never truly gone, only waiting to be remembered. And as the last gears of the reconstructed model turned in harmony, it felt as if the ancient world had spoken once again, urging us to listen, to learn, and to never let the light of knowledge sink beneath the waves of time. Now, what do you think about the Antikythera Mechanism's mysterious comeback? Do you believe AI's recreation of this ancient computer is just the beginning, and that more forgotten knowledge from the past is waiting to be uncovered beneath the sea? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.